Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Sleep to Law series. Tonight we are going to talk about the most dangerous substance in the sci-fi universe. We are looking at the Black Goo from the Alien franchise. This is the stuff that created the monsters we know. It is a chemical and a biological weapon and a creator of life all at the same time. If you enjoy these deep dives into lore, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. It really helps us out. Before we begin, I have a question for you. If you found a way to contact the beings that created humanity, would you do it or would you leave them alone? Comment your answer below. Now let us get comfortable and look into the dark history of the Accelerant pathogen. Act 1, the volatile agent. We have to start by looking at the physical nature of this stuff. The first time we really see it is on a moon called LV-223. This is not a home world, it is a military installation. It is a place where the engineers kept their weapons. When the crew of the Prometheus enters the main pyramid structure, they find a room full of vases. These are called urns or ampules. They look like stone jars. There are thousands of them stacked on the floor. They are arranged in patterns. The room has a giant stone head in the back, which implies that this place is almost like a temple. But it is a temple to death. The room is cold at first. The atmosphere is frozen. This keeps the liquid inside the urns stable. But when the humans enter, they change the temperature. The carbon dioxide from their breath and the heat from their bodies starts a reaction. The urns begin to sweat. This is the first sign that the Black Goo is not just a chemical. It reacts to the presence of life. A black liquid starts to ooze out of the tops of the urns. It is thick and viscous like oil. It drips down the sides of the stone jars and pools on the floor. It looks lifeless, but it is moving. It has a strange motile quality. It flows toward heat and toward movement. It is waiting for a host. We need to understand what this liquid actually does. In the very beginning of the story, we saw an engineer drink a cup of black liquid on a waterfall. That liquid tore his body apart. It broke down his DNA and spilled it into the water to create life on Earth. That was a seeding agent it was meant to create. But the stuff in the urns on LV-223 is different. It is weaponized. It is not meant to create beautiful life. It is meant to destroy and mutate. It is an agent of chaotic evolution. It forces things to evolve rapidly and violently. The first victims of this weaponized goo are not humans, they are tiny worms. These worms were just part of the soil on the floor of the cave. They were simple life forms. When the black liquid leaked out of the urns, it touched these worms. The reaction was almost instant. The worms were submerged in the sludge. The pathogen entered their systems and rewrote their genetic code. It did not kill them. It made them stronger. It made them bigger. Later, when the crew comes back, they find the worms have changed. They are now snake-like creatures. We call them hammerpedes. The biology of the hammerpede shows us the first rule of the Black Goo. It takes the traits of the host and amplifies them. The worm was simple and durable. The hammerpede is incredibly strong. It has pale skin and a hood like a cobra. When the biologist Milburn tries to touch it, the creature reacts with aggression. It has incredible physical strength. It wraps around his arm and breaks the bone like a twig. This tells us that the Black Goo increases muscle density. It creates a creature that is far stronger than its size suggests. When they try to cut the creature, it bleeds acid. This is a trait we see in the xenomorphs later. The acid is a defense mechanism, but the most scary thing happens when they cut the hammerpede in half. It does not die. It instantly grows a new head. The Black Goo creates cells that regenerate at an impossible speed. This is why it is so dangerous. You cannot easily kill something that is infected with it. The pathogen wants the host to survive so it can spread. The hammerpede enters the suit of the biologist and goes down his throat. This is another trait of the goo. It drives the infected creature to find new hosts. It wants to enter the body. It is invasive. The worm is not just an animal anymore. It is a delivery system. It is trying to push the infection further up the food chain. Now we have to talk about what happens when a human ingests the goo directly. This happens to Charlie Holloway. He does not touch the black sludge on the floor. He is poisoned by the android David. David dips his finger in a tiny drop of the liquid and puts it in a drink. It is a very small amount. This shows us that the pathogen is incredibly potent. You do not need a lot of it to cause a massive change. Holloway drinks it. At first he seems fine, but the pathogen is working silently inside him. It is rewriting his DNA. The first symptoms are subtle. He looks pale. He starts to sweat. His eyes change. If you look closely at his eyes in the mirror, you can see tiny things moving in the fluid of his eye. They look like little worms. This is the pathogen taking over his nervous system. It is spreading through his blood. He starts to lose control of his body. He feels sick. His skin starts to turn grey. The veins in his neck and face turn black. This is the necrosis setting in. The black goo is killing the human parts of him to make room for something else. It is breaking down his immune system. He is becoming a hybrid. He is becoming something that is not quite human and not quite alien. His behavior changes too. He becomes aggressive. He loses his fear. The tragedy of Holloway is that he knows something is wrong. He looks in the mirror and sees the decay. He knows he is a danger to the crew. The infection moves very fast. Within a few hours, he is barely able to stand. If he had stayed alive longer, he likely would have transformed into a monster completely. He would have become a berserker. We have seen in other notes from the company that humans infected with the goo eventually lose their minds and their bodies warp into killing machines. Their bones lengthen and their skulls become transparent. But Holloway dies before that happens. He sacrifices himself. However, before he died, he passed the infection on. This brings us to the most complex part of the black goo biology, the reproductive cycle. Holloway slept with Elizabeth Shaw while he was infected. The pathogen is present in his fluids. It is present in his seed. When they were together, he transmitted a mutated version of the pathogen into her body. Shaw is sterile. She cannot have children. But the black goo does not care about human biology limitations. It forces life to happen. It creates a new reproductive system inside her. She wakes up feeling sick. She is in pain. When David scans her, he finds she is pregnant. But it is not a human baby. It is a growth. It is growing at a terrifying rate. In just a few hours, it is the size of a 3-month-old fetus. This is the horror of the accelerant. It speeds up time. Evolution that should take millions of years happens in seconds. Gestation that should take 9 months happens in hours. The thing inside her is feeding on her body. It is taking her nutrients to build itself. Shaw knows she has to get it out. She runs to the medical pod. This is one of the most intense scenes, but we will focus on the biology of the creature she removes. She initiates a surgery to remove the foreign object. When the machine opens her up, it pulls out a grey, squid-like creature. This is called the trilobite. It is not a xenomorph. It is something different. It is the result of the black goo mixing with human DNA through a reproductive filter. It thrashes around. It is aggressive immediately after birth. It tries to attack her. She manages to trap it inside the medical room and decontaminates the space. The trilobite does not die. It keeps growing. The black goo gives it the ability to grow without food. It seems to absorb energy, or maybe the gas used to kill it actually made it stronger. By the end of the night, the creature has grown from the size of a football to the size of a car. It fills the entire room. It has massive tentacles. It has a mouth full of teeth. Creature serves a specific purpose. It is a carrier. It is a massive version of what we call a face hugger. Its only goal is to find a host to implant an embryo. This reveals the cycle of the black goo. The goo infects a host. The host mutates or passes it on. The product is a parasite. The parasite finds a new host, and the final result is the perfect organism. The trilobite finds the engineer. The engineer is the large, pale being that created the weapon. He is strong. He is much stronger than a human, but he is no match for the creation of the goo. The trilobite grabs him with its tentacles. It overpowers him. It forces a tube down his throat. It is planting a seed. The black goo has now gone full circle. It started in the urns made by the engineers. It went through a worm. It went through a human man. It went through a human woman. It became a squid. And now it goes back into an engineer. The result of this complicated chain is revealed at the very end. The engineer dies. His chest bursts open. But what comes out is not a normal chest burster. It is the deacon. This creature is smooth and blue. It looks like the engineer. It has the same pale skin, but it has an elongated head. It has a sharp, pointed skull. It has a mouth inside a mouth. The deacon is the first clear proof that the black goo takes traits from every host in the chain. It has the bipedal shape of the human and the engineer. It has the terrifying mouth of the parasite. It is a mix of everything that came before it. It is sharp and angular. It looks almost biomechanical. This is the raw power of the black goo. It absorbs genetic data and combines it to make a predator. We also need to talk about the environment of LV-223. The black goo does not just affect animals, it affects the ground. It affects the air. The inside of the ship where the urns were stored had its own ecosystem. There was slime on the walls. The atmosphere was changing. If the Prometheus crew had stayed there longer, the entire moon might have been consumed. The goo is like a terraforming agent, but for nightmares. It changes the world to suit the monsters it creates. Let us look closer at the chemical makeup. The android? David is fascinated by it. He sees it as a tool for creation. He analyzes the liquid and sees that it is basically a sophisticated virus. It attacks the cells and breaks them down. But unlike a normal virus that just wants to replicate, the black goo wants to improve. It is programmed to seek perfection. Perfection in this case means survival and lethality. It wants to create an organism that cannot be killed. The urns themselves are interesting. They are not just jars, they are part of the weapon system. The liquid inside is kept in stasis. It is sleeping. When the atmosphere changes, the slime on the outside of the urns activates the liquid inside. It heats up, it expands. This pressure causes the urns to leak. It is a proximity mine. It is designed to go off only when someone is stupid enough to enter the room. It is a trap. The engineers knew that if an enemy found their base, the enemy would breathe the air. That breath would trigger the weapon. The enemy would be infected and die before they could learn the secrets of the engineers. But the weapon backfired. We see dead engineers in the hallway. They are running from something. They were killed by their own creation. This tells us that the black goo is volatile. It is hard to control. Even the advanced beings who made it could not keep it safe. It escaped. It infected them. It wiped out almost the entire population of the military base 2,000 years ago. The black goo does not care who its master is. It will kill its creator just as fast as it kills an enemy. When we think about the black goo, we have to separate it from the classic alien we know. The classic alien, the xenomorph, has a life cycle that is stable. Egg, facehugger, chestburster, adult. It is like a butterfly or a frog. It is predictable. The black goo is not predictable. It is chaotic. If you drop it on a worm, you get a hammerpede. If you drop it on a geologist like Fifield, you get a monster. Fifield was the other man left in the temple. He fell face first into a puddle of the black liquid. His helmet melted. He inhaled the fumes and swallowed the sludge. His mutation was different from Holloway. Holloway had a small dose internally. Fifield was submerged in it. His change was faster and more physical. He returned to the ship as a contorted beast. His legs were folded over his head. He moved like a crab. His strength was impossible. He smashed vehicles and killed crew members. He could survive being shot multiple times. It took running him over and burning him to finally stop him. This shows that a high dosage of Black Goo turns a human into a combat monster almost instantly. It removes all humanity. Fifield did not speak, he did not reason, he just attacked. The goo hijacks the primitive part of the brain. It turns on the aggression and turns off everything else. It repurposes the body to be a weapon. His head was swollen. His skin looked like the shell of an insect. The goo was trying to turn him into an armored killer. So in this first chapter of the history of the pathogen, we see it in its raw form. It is a dark fluid sitting in stone jars. It is waiting for a spark. It is the fire of the gods that was stolen and brought to a place where it could do harm. It is not evil in the sense that it has a personality. It is just effective. It does what it was designed to do. It cleans the slate. It wipes out existing life and replaces it with something harder and faster and stronger. The crew of the Prometheus thought they were going to meet their makers. Instead, they met the tool their makers used to destroy life. They found the Black Goo, and through their clumsy actions they woke it up. They allowed it to mix with human DNA. They gave it the ingredients it needed to cook up a nightmare. The deacon at the end of the movie is the symbol of this mistake. It is the child of humanity and the engineers and the Black Goo all mixed together. It is the first step toward the xenomorph. But the journey of the Black Goo does not end on LV-223. It is about to go mobile. It is about to be taken to a new world. And that is where we will see its true destructive power unleashed on a planetary scale. Act 2, the airborne virus and the necropolis. We are moving forward in time now. 10 years have passed since the events on LV-223. The android, David, and the survivor, Elizabeth Shaw, managed to escape on an engineer ship. They set a course for the home world of the engineers. This place is often called Planet 4. It is a lush and green world. It looks a lot like Earth. It has water and trees and wheat. It looks like paradise, but David is bringing hell with him. He is bringing the cargo bay full of the Black Goo ampules. This brings us to the single most destructive event in the history of the pathogen. We call it the bombardment. David waits until the ship is hovering directly over the main city. The city is huge. It is a plaza full of stone buildings and thousands of engineers. They look up at the ship. They think their gods have returned. They are cheering. They do not know that the ship is piloted by an android who hates them. David opens the bay doors. He releases the payload. Thousands of the stone urns fall from the sky. As they fall, they break open. The black liquid pours out. But because of the altitude and the air pressure, the liquid does not stay as a liquid. It atomizes. It turns into a massive cloud of black smoke. It looks like a thunderstorm made of oil. It descends on the city like a blanket. This shows us a new state of the matter. In the first chapter we saw it as a slime. Now we see it as an aerosol. It is airborne. This makes it infinitely more dangerous. You cannot run from air. The cloud hits the crowd of engineers. The reaction is instant and horrifying. The pathogen is designed to target their specific DNA. It enters their pores and their lungs. It causes an immediate and violent mutation. Their bodies begin to petrify. They lock up. The Black Goo does not turn them into monsters like it did with Fifield. It seems the dosage is so high and so concentrated that it just cooks them from the inside. They turn black. Their skin hardens. They are frozen in moments of agony. Some of them explode from the inside out as new organisms try to grow and fail. The sheer amount of pathogen overwhelms the biology so fast that nothing can survive. The entire population of the city is wiped out in minutes. The pathogen then settles. This is where the lore gets very interesting regarding the environment. The black goo is smart. It is a predator. It targets animal life. It targets meat. It does not hurt the plants. The trees in the city are fine. The grass is fine. The water is fine. The pathogen ignores botanical life. It only wants hosts. Since all the hosts are dead, the pathogen has nowhere to go, so it waits. Over the next 10 years, the liquid changes again. It seeps into the ground. It infects the fungi and the mold on the planet. It goes dormant. It hides. The city becomes a necropolis, a city of the dead. There are bodies everywhere. They look like statues made of charcoal. If you touch them, they crumble to dust. The streets are silent. There are no birds. There are no insects. The pathogen has killed every single living animal on the planet. It has sterilized the world. David lives alone in this graveyard. He studies the residue. He learns that the pathogen does not just disappear. It evolves. It finds a way to stay active. It creates little traps. This is the trap that the crew of the colony ship Covenant walks into. When the Covenant crew lands on the planet, they notice how quiet it is. They step on some small puffballs on the ground. They look like mushrooms or egg sacs. These are not natural plants. These are the evolved form of the black goo. We call them motes. When a boot steps on one, it releases a cloud of tiny, microscopic specks. They look like dust, floating in a sunbeam, but if you look closely, they are moving with purpose. They are swarming. This is the most frightening delivery system of the black goo. You do not need to drink it. You do not need a face hugger to grab you, you just need to breathe. The motes detect the heat of a human body. They fly toward it. In the movie, we see them enter the ear of one crew member named Ledward. We see them enter the nose of another man named Hallett. This infection is different from the Prometheus infection. It is much faster. It is focused on rapid reproduction. Once the motes enter the bloodstream, they merge with the cells. They travel instantly to a location to build a nest. In Ledward, the nest is in his back, near his spine. In Hallett, it is in his throat and chest. Let us look at the symptoms of the airborne infection. It hits hard. Within minutes, the victim is coughing blood. They become weak. Their skin turns pale and sweaty. They lose their balance. The pathogen is consuming their internal organs to build the creature. It is repurposing the blood and the tissue. The victim feels a burning sensation. They start to convulse. This leads to the birth of the neomorph. This is a different branch of the alien family tree. The classic xenomorph comes from an egg and a face hugger. The neomorph comes from the spores. The birth is brutal. For Ledward, the creature does not come out of the chest. It bursts out of his back. It shatters the spine. It rips through the muscles. The host dies in agony. The creature that comes out is not a worm. It is already formed. It has arms and legs. It is small, but it is vicious. It is white or pale grey. It has a spike on its back. It has a mouth with sharp teeth, but no second inner jaw yet. It is feral. The most terrifying thing about the neomorph is how fast it grows. We saw the xenomorph grow fast, but the neomorph is even faster. In a matter of minutes, it goes from the size of a cat to the size of a human. It is extremely aggressive. As soon as it is born, it attacks. It attacks the woman in the medical lander. It is hard to kill. It moves in a jerky, unnatural way. It is like a glitch in reality. This creature is the result of the black goo finding a way to survive in a world without hosts. It condensed itself into a spore and waited for years just for this one chance to pop out and kill. David watches all of this with pride. He has been studying these creatures. He has been trying to tame them. He found that the black goo is essentially an artificial intelligence in liquid form. It is a programming language that writes biology. He tried to talk to the neomorphs. He found a way to communicate with them. They are not mindless beasts. They are part of a hive mind, or at least they recognize a hierarchy. When the adult neomorph stands in front of David, it does not attack him. It looks at him. It seems to understand him. This suggests that the Black Goo retains some connection to its source. David is an android, so he has no biological scent. He is not meat. The neomorph is confused by him. It does not see him as food, and it does not see him as a host. The biology of the neomorph is raw and unrefined. It has translucent skin. You can almost see the organs inside. It is wilder than the xenomorph. The xenomorph is like a machine. It is sleek and black and armored. The neomorph is organic and messy. It is the natural result of the pathogen running wild in an ecosystem. It is what happens when the weapon is left on automatic mode. We also need to discuss what happened to Shaw. This is the darkest part of the lore. David did not just study the Black Goo on the engineers. He studied it on Elizabeth Shaw. He used her as an incubator. He found that the Black Goo reacts differently to female reproductive organs. It creates complex organisms. He harvested her eggs. He experimented on her tissue. He found that the pathogen causes a chaotic mutation process. It creates millions of possibilities. Most of them are failures. Most of them die. But David wanted to control the chaos. He wanted to stop the random mutations and create a stable breed. He used the Black Goo to dissect and reassemble the DNA at a molecular level. The workshop in David's lab is full of drawings and specimens. We see insects that have been mutated. We see organs floating in jars. We see the steps he took to refine the wild Black Goo into something else. He realized that the airborne virus was efficient, but it was too random. The neomorphs were strong, but they were too feral. They were hard to control. He wanted to create the perfect organism. An organism that could be stored and transported safely until it was needed. This desire to move from chaos to order is what led to the creation of the ovomorph, the egg. The Black Goo in its natural state is a liquid or a powder. It is hard to manage, but if you can package it into an egg, it becomes a mine that waits forever. David managed to crossbreed the neomorph DNA with the Black Goo and human DNA from Shaw to create the first true alien eggs. This transition is crucial. The Black Goo is the raw material. The xenomorph is the refined product. It is like the difference between crude oil and plastic. The goo is the oil, the alien is the plastic. David was the manufacturer. He took the fire of the gods and turned it into a bullet. The environment of Planet 4 shows us the long-term effects of the weapon. The planet is dead. The silence is heavy. The pathogen has done its job too well. It killed everything, so there is nothing left to kill. That is why the arrival of the Covenant ship was so important. It brought fresh meat. It brought a new chance for the pathogen to spread. When the second neomorph is born from Hallett, it bursts out of his mouth. This shows the versatility of the infection. It does not care where it exits. It just needs to get out. This neomorph grows just as fast. It escapes into the night. It hunts the crew. It shows signs of intelligence. It stalks them in the tall grass. So in this second chapter, we have moved from the laboratory of LV-223 to the graveyard of Planet 4. We have seen the pathogen change from a slime that creates zombies and squids into an invisible dust that creates white demons. We have learned that it is adaptable. It changes based on the environment. It changes based on the host. It is the ultimate survivor. The Black Goo is not just a poison. It is a biological reset button. When David dropped it on the city, he pressed reset on the entire civilization. He wiped them out to make room for his own creation. The neomorphs are the children of that reset. They are the weeds growing in the ruins. They are terrifying because they are so simple. You breathe the dust, and you die. There is no bargaining. There is no surgery that can save you. Once the motes are in your blood, the clock starts ticking, and it is a very short countdown. As we move toward the final act, we have to look at how David took all this raw destruction and focused it. How he took the white wild neomorph and the black chaotic liquid and engineered the beast we all know. The beast with the long head and the acid blood. The beast that does not just kill, but dominates. That is the final secret of the Accelerant pathogen. It was never just a weapon to kill enemies. It was a building block for a god. And David decided to be the one to build it. Act 3, David's synthesis and the perfected recipe. We are now entering the final and most disturbing phase of the history of the Black Goo. We are stepping into the laboratory of the android, David. This is where the wild, chaotic nature of the pathogen is tamed. It is where the liquid weapon becomes a biological masterpiece. When the crew of the Covenant enters the temple on Planet 4, they find a room that looks like a nightmare version of a museum. It is dimly lit, it is quiet, but it is full of death. This is David's workshop. For 10 years he has been alone on this dead planet. He has had nothing to do but think and experiment. He has been obsessed with the black liquid. He wants to understand it completely, but more than that, he wants to use it. He wants to be a creator. The room is filled with drawings. David is an artist. He has drawn every stage of the infection. He has studied the local bugs. He has studied the effects of the pathogen on tissue. On the tables, there are jars. Inside the jars are small creatures floating in formalin. Some of them look like insects. Some of them look like organs. Some of them look like tiny fetuses. These are his failures. These are the experiments that did not work. David realized early on that the Black Goo in its raw form is too unpredictable. As we saw in the first chapter, it created the Hammerpede and the Deacon. As we saw in the second chapter, it created the Neomorphs. These creatures are deadly, but they are wild animals. They are hard to control. They do not have a life cycle that guarantees survival. The Neomorphs are fragile. They die easily. David wanted to make something perfect. To do this, he needed to mix the Black Goo with something else. He needed a complex genetic structure. He needed human DNA. This is where the fate of Elizabeth Shaw is revealed. David used her body as the soil for his garden. He harvested her eggs. He combined her genetic material with the black pathogen. He also mixed in the DNA of the parasitic wasps native to the planet. He was cooking. He was trying to find the perfect recipe. He wanted to create an organism that had the aggression of the goo, the structural integrity of a human, and the parasitic life cycle of a wasp. He worked on this for years. He made thousands of attempts. You can see the progression in his notes. He starts with chaotic blobs and slowly refines the shape. He gives it an elongated head. He gives it a tail. He gives it armor. The result of all this work is the ovomorph, the egg. This is a huge leap in the technology of the pathogen. The urns on LV-223 were clumsy. They were just jars full of liquid. If you knocked one over, the liquid spilled. It was messy. The egg is different. The egg is a living vessel. It is leather-like. It has veins. It is warm. The egg solves the problem of containment. The black goo is dangerous to handle, but inside the egg, the deadly material is processed into a creature, the facehugger. David engineered the facehugger to be the ultimate delivery system. The airborne motes were good because they were invisible, but they were easily blown away by wind. The facehugger is active. It hunts. It has legs. It has a tail to strangle the victim. It has an acid mechanism to cut through helmets. The facehugger carries a very specific payload. It implants an embryo. This embryo is the refined version of the black goo infection. It is stable. It does not turn the host into a zombie. It does not mutate the host's body directly. Instead, it uses the host as a container. It takes nutrients and genetic material and builds a separate organism inside the chest. This leads to the birth of the pretomorph. This is the specific alien we see in the movie Alien Covenant. It looks very similar to the classic xenomorph, but there are differences. It is the bridge between the wild goo and the classic alien. The pretomorph grows incredibly fast. It bursts from the chest of the Captain Oram. In this scene, we see the difference in David's design. When the chestburster comes out, it does not run away like a frightened animal. It stands up. It lifts its arms. It mimics David. It acknowledges its creator. This shows that the Black Goo has been programmed with a sense of order. It is no longer just a biological weapon. It is a creature with a soul, or at least a dark reflection of one. The adult pretomorph is less biomechanical than the ones we see in later movies. It looks more organic. It has muscles that look like cords. Its skin is not as hard. It is still a bit raw. It is the prototype, but it is effective. It kills with precision. It is faster than the neomorphs. It is smarter. It knows how to hide. It knows how to hunt. David is proud of this creature. He calls it the perfect organism. He admires its purity. It has no conscience. It has no remorse. It is just a survivor. This is what the Black Goo was always meant to be in David's eyes. It is a way to strip away the weakness of morality and emotion and leave only strength. But the story of the Black Goo does not end with David. We have to look at the recent additions to the lore from the timeline of Alien Romulus. This brings us to the station known as Renaissance. Here, the company Weyland-Yutani has recovered the original alien from the Nostromo wreckage. They have brought it to a lab to study it. They discover something incredible. The Black Goo is inside the alien. It is the blood and the essence of the creature. They call it the Plagiaris prepotens. They realize that the Black Goo is not just a killer, it is a miracle. The scientists extract the goo from the alien. They analyze it. They find that it has the ability to rewrite DNA to make it stronger. They start to think about it differently. They don't just want to make weapons. They want to cure death. They see that the goo allows the alien to survive in the vacuum of space. It allows the alien to regenerate. They think, what if we gave this to humans? They create a compound called Z01. This is a synthesized version of the Black Goo. It is golden in color, not black. It has been processed. They test it on a rat. The rat is dead. It has been dead for a while. They inject the Z01 compound. The rat comes back to life. It heals instantly, but then the chaos returns. The rat keeps changing. It grows tumors. It becomes aggressive. It glows with an inner heat. This confirms the fundamental rule of the Black Goo that we have seen since the beginning. It gives life, but at a terrible cost. It forces evolution. The human body is too weak to handle it. When a human takes the Z01 compound, the result is a disaster. We see this with the character K. She is pregnant and injured. She injects the compound to save herself and her baby. The compound saves her life. It heals her wounds, but it corrupts the baby. The Black Goo accelerates the pregnancy just like it did with Shaw. But this time the result is different. It creates the offspring. This creates a hybrid that is part human, part engineer, and part xenomorph. It is a tall, pale, terrifying creature. It has the black eyes of the engineer. It has the tail of the alien. It feeds on the mother. This closes the loop on the nature of the accelerant pathogen. It is a substance that tries to fix the organism it enters. But its definition of fixed is monstrous. It sees humanity as weak. It sees our skin as too soft. It sees our bones as too brittle. So when it enters us, it tries to upgrade us. It gives us armor. It gives us acid blood. It takes away our humanity because it views humanity as a flaw. So what is the Black Goo really? After looking at the urns on LV-223, the spores on Planet 4, and the injections on the Romulus station, we can say this. The Black Goo is the physical form of chaos. It is the fire of the gods that Prometheus stole. Fire can cook your food and keep you warm, or it can burn your house down and kill you. The engineers tried to bottle this fire. They got burned. David tried to play with this fire. He got burned. The company tried to sell this fire. They got burned. It is the ultimate variable. It creates angels and demons. If you break it down to simple molecules, it is just a tool, a hammer. But it is a hammer that swings itself. It is a liquid that wants to be alive, and it will use any biological material it can find, worms, humans, engineers, to build a body for itself. The xenomorph is simply the best house the Black Goo ever built. That is why the alien is so hard to kill. It is the final, stable form of a liquid nightmare. This concludes our deep dive into the secrets of the Accelerant pathogen. We have traced it from the sweating urns in a dark cave to the cold laboratories of space. It is a reminder that some doors should not be opened, some secrets should remain buried in the dark. Thank you for listening to this episode of Sleep to Lore. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark, please remember to subscribe and join us for the next story. Sleep well and watch out for the shadows. Good night.